Damn it, Clint. You got me again.
Let's go. Let's go.
The Power Hour has begun. Power Hour Part 2. If you guys remember, Clint won first quarter of the year as well. He's mopping it up once again. He defeats me 13-8 in the second quarter of the year for the deadlock duel. And I am paying up once again. So it's nothing new for my liver over the past 5 weeks or so, as I've been drinking a whole lot more than I ever have in my life. I think this is the most I've drank in a 5-week span since college, Clint. Like I am not much of a drinker at all. You guys know me. You guys know my drug of choice. You guys know where I like to go for my, relaxation and my quote unquote crutch, but alcohol is definitely not that avenue, but it does make things fun. It does make things cheerful. And I told you I was on a bit of an energy dump before we jumped on here, but I felt as though what better energy giver than alcohol. So I guess I am a little bit thankful for this Power Hour, Clint. How has your last 2 weeks or so been? I think it's been about 3 weeks now since we've actually done a full episode here, but how's it hanging over there on the McLean household?
You know what? It is hanging, man. Things are getting a little bit crazy. It's almost time to send the kid back to school. We got summer trips and stuff going on. Like it is that time of year, man. It's absolutely nuts right now. So just trying to keep the head above float, keep above the content that constantly rolls in. We love that there is no MMA in the, there's no off season in MMA. We've always got shows, we've always got content. That's great. But at the same time, you never get a damn break. So it starts to wear on you after a bit. I'm loving where we're at right now. I just tallied up my units and stuff for the year lock, and I'm getting my ass kicked this year. So I'm surprised and happy to be winning the deadlock duel at least, because that's something I can, hang my hat on. But I have just been getting destroyed in PFL, man. I counted it all up, and the PFL accounts for like 80% of the units that I am down right now. So wow. I'm just going to stop betting that shit. Like I just got to stay away from the PFL apparently.
You know what? Sometimes the only reason I know that it's going on is because I always update the tape index, and then it's, I've always, we have the PFL on the tape index there, but there's sometimes where it just creeps up on me. I'm like, oh, I kind of forgot to bet this card. And then I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't, because I probably would have gotten some L's there as well. Like there was that shit show a couple weeks ago where it was the heavyweight card, right? And like all the heavyweights fucking screwed the pooch there outside of Ante Delia and Dennis Goldsov. Yeah. I think those were the only like 2 top guys there that actually won.
Don't remind me. That night ruined. I was in a betting competition. I don't know if you saw those posts or whatever. It's a winner take all format. So I had the man himself, the main event fighter there for the PFL in my parlay.
Pereira or Capoloza.
I didn't trust Fajea. Actually, I was this close to pulling the trigger on Abreu because I saw the wrestling weakness. Stayed off of that one, thankfully, at least from the favorite side of things. But Capoloza still shit the bed. Like he probably won rounds 2 and 3 in my opinion. But either way, it was a close competitive decision for a -800 favorite. So it still was a bad bet and a bad price tag. And I fell straight on into it. If you're gonna bet PFL, folks, make sure you're betting the tournament version, because if they're competing for like seeding and all that stuff, people just fucking don't show up, man. It's crazy. You got to pay a lot closer attention to that kind of stuff. And I learned that lesson the hard way with my hard-earned cash.
There is there is no more PFL until I think at least August or something now. So you do have some time off, if I'm not mistaken. Bellator is coming up in a couple weeks here as well. Our Bellator debut of that Tofik Mosayev guy, who I keep hearing about but never see compete. So we'll finally get to see him go out there, and I believe he has like a #1 contender spot there that I'm looking forward to. But let me just get this third one down before my voice starts slurring once again.
I love it. Let's go.
Before we get on to the first topic, though, any summer plans for the family? Right, when you have a family, you gotta make summer vacation plans or something like that. Like, have you and the wife kind of circled anything out where, like, okay, we're taking our, our child this week to the beach or some shit, or we're gonna go camping or something? You guys got anything planned?
Yeah, we're probably gonna run away to the beach for a weekend. That is my wife's happy place. She
Yeah,
loves the beach, absolutely loves the beach. And my daughter's just kind of a little clone of her. They are happiest when they're in the sand, out in the sun. I, on the other hand, Locke, am a cave animal. I'm a creature of habit, and I like my dark places. I hate the beach.
me
I'll be
too.
honest with you. I am all for fun things. I like going out and doing fun things. You want to go to a park, or you want to go get food, or whatever. I'm good. I'm good. But all that sand, man, like, you
Yeah,
get into the water, it's like sticky salt water. I'm like, can I just swim in a pool? I'm sorry. I'm that guy. I'm like, I don't want to be all sandy. I don't want to get sunburned. I'd rather be in a pool with a drink in my hand or something like that, where I know I can just towel off and be good to go for the rest of the day. But no, you go to the beach and it's a whole process getting your ass down there. You got to carry everything. Then everything's all sandy. It gets the car all messy. Like, I hate the beach.
I'm totally with you right there. Like, me and you sound completely alike. I hate swimming because I don't even know how to swim. But like, I'll go into the water every now and then. But yeah, in terms of a whole trip, you're cleaning sand out of your crevices for the next 3 days, and it's just
You
like,
find sand weeks later, man. You'll you'll just be randomly sitting
one
there.
day
I'm
you'll
like,
wake
that's
up with it
funny.
in your mouth somehow. Like, why am I chewing on sand right now after like 4 days, 5 days of being away from the beach? But for me, Clint, the reason I've kind of teed it up, Friday, 2 days, I'm going to a very big concert that I
Nice.
cannot wait for. I have so much excitement for it, and goddamn, this timer keeps going off, and I gotta take another shot, and I will continue my story in 1 second here.
For those of you who don't know, we do the deadlock duel where we compete making fighter picks. We've got a scoring system. And at the end of that, the loser has to do a power hour live on camera. You tuned into the right episode because Locke lost the deadlock duel for this one. So every 2 minutes, he will be taking a shot of his favorite beer. And that may not sound like a lot. It may not sound like much, but he
It
was
adds up.
feeling pretty good by the end of the show last time. So hang around. It's gonna get good.
Yeah, we're three, 4 shots in at this point in time, so there's plenty to go. But yeah, I'm on Friday. I am going to a concert for The Weekend. You know who The Weekend is, Clint? I'm
I do
hoping.
know. I
Okay.
know what the weekend is. I also know who the weekend is.
Do you jam to any of his songs? Is there any song of his where you're like, oh, I don't mind this song?
None jump off the page at
Yeah.
me. It's one of those ones where honestly, I am sure if I heard a couple of songs or something like that,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, that one. I kind of like that one. But I don't know any well enough to tell you right off the top of my head, unfortunately.
I Feel It Coming, or yeah, there's a bunch of hit songs that he had out there. He even did a couple of tracks with Daft Punk
He
a
did the
couple of
halftime
years
show,
ago as
right?
well. I believe he did the halftime show. Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember the mirror
he's the
thing. He
one
was
with
running
the
around
where he's
lost.
running, where he's running through the maze of mirrors, and he looks like
Yes.
that crazy wacky man. Yeah, that was him. But the reason I'm super excited for it, we were originally supposed to go last year, but COVID obviously canceled the tour there, and that was for his second last album. And since that cancellation, he released another album, and now he's deciding to do both albums on this tour. So not only did he go from where the Toronto Raptors play, which is the Scotiabank Arena, he is now transferring it to where the Toronto Blue Jays play in a stadium,
Nice.
so he can get all the production, pyrotechnics, all that shit ready for a phenomenal show, a big show. I cannot wait for it. I am super pumped about it. I can't remember the last time I was this pumped for a goddamn concert, because I loved his last two albums, and I can't wait to be very drunk. Like, this is pre-game for me right now. Get my liver ready for what's about to go down on Friday. So I'll be very hungover during the fights on Saturday, but I intend on having a damn good time
I
come
love it.
Friday night.
That sounds like fun for all of us involved. All right. So, hey, we kicked off the festivities at the beginning. We like to just kind of touch base. Everybody listening, do us a favor, hit the like button, help us out. But we want to get into our first topic. And actually, like, I was thinking maybe we go a little bit rogue here, because literally right before we pressed
Yeah,
play on
might
the
as well.
live stream, we got breaking news. Like, let's take
Yeah.
advantage of this thing.
Yep.
Darren Till is out of his fight with Jack Hermanson. And I don't know about you, Locke, but personally, I never bought into the Till hype. He's on my favorite fades list. I bet against the guy every opportunity that I can. I mean, I absolutely hammered Tyrone Woodley when he was an underdog, when they finally gave Till the crack at it. So like, I'm not a Till guy. I wouldn't quite call myself a hater, but I'm definitely a non-believer. Kind of a bummer for the people over in London to have that guy fall out of their main event, because obviously they try to put him up there, build the card around him. But word on the street is that none other than Chris the Action Man Curtis is stepping up to take that slot. Like, I gotta hear your thoughts. I want to know where you stand on Till. And then what if my boy Action Man hops on a plane and seeks Valhalla in London with a last-second UFC main event slot because he's just that big of a badass? Talk to me, man. How do you feel about this exciting event that is unraveling before us?
I was bummed right off the bat. Right as soon as I saw it from Mark Raymundi's tweet, I quote tweeted it. I put boo. Like, I was pumped for Darren Till against Jack Hermansson, because I was thinking I was going to go pretty heavy on Jack Hermansson in that spot and fading Till. Now, in regards to my history of fading Till, like you said, you really like fading Till. You made some good coin off of fading him. Let me just quickly hit this one more shot before I continue my thought here.
I'd prefer Action Man versus Till, by the way.
That would be a much more fun fight. I absolutely agree. That would definitely be a little bit more fun, as Hermansson will likely try to slow this fight down. But in regards to Till, I can't believe it was only 5 fights ago that he fought for the title against Tyron Woodley. 5 fights ago. This guy is just not active enough. This is September of 2018 at UFC 228, where the UFC had the marketing machine behind Darren Till, hoping that Tyron Woodley would lose. And what did I do that night, Clint? I bet Tyron Woodley as an underdog, but not just money line. I didn't bet the money line. I bet the KO prop.
I love it.
What does Tyron Woodley do that night against
Earns
Darren
a black
Till?
belt.
Earns a black belt and gets a motherfucking Darce choke. Are you kidding me, Tyron Woodley? The one time I wanted to bank on you and your knockout power, it doesn't transpire. So I whiffed on that one. I bet Kelvin Gastelum against him. Whiffed on that one there. I did bet Robert Whittaker, so I made my money there. But then I whiffed once again because I did bet Darren Till against Derek Brunson, as I didn't think that Brunson train was for real. I was the originator of the Brunson train, if you guys remember, being the guy to pick him against Edmund Shabazian as a +2 whatever fucking underdog, and that round 3 prop at +2,800. But I felt the Darren Till fight was going to be very difficult for him. It just so happens that Darren Till is no longer the guy that we expected him to be before that Tyron Woodley title shot. Now, in regards to this matchup, Chris Curtis, Jack Hermansson, if it does come to fruition, you know, Chris Curtis taking the fucking UFC by storm, coming into most of his fights as an underdog, and he's just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out there and knock these guys out regardless. Obviously, wasn't able to do that against Rodolfo Vieira, but still goes out there and picks up a big victory. This one, we talked a little bit about it, Clint, here before we went live. I think it's going to be tough for him, because I do think he's going to struggle a little bit with the grappling of Jack Hermansson. But if he is able to pull it off, things could get very dicey in that middleweight division, especially with the Action Man Chris Curtis right there at the top, right? Jack Hermansson's still a top 10 middleweight, maybe even top 8 middleweight. Chris Curtis
is ranked 9 right at the moment.
It's still a big win for him, right? What are your thoughts here? I know you're rearing to go with your thoughts here on Chris Curtis and Jack Hermansson. Would love to hear it.
Just give me a plus number, Lock. That's all you got to know. All you got to know. Just give me a plus next to the number. That's it. Like, I have been blindly supporting my man Action Man since he came to the UFC. He's undefeated in the organization. Everyone counting him out every single time. He's finally a rightful favorite against Rodolfo Vieira, and all the money pours in on Rodolfo as a dog. I doubled down on him when that number dipped. Like, Lock, I'm ready to go. I don't care who they put him in there with. I'm back in Action Man until the wheels fall off. I think this fight sets up a lot like the last one. Now, obviously, Jack Hermansson is a much more finessed fighter than someone like Rodolfo Vieira. He's a great, exceptional grappler, probably a better wrestler, you know, not maybe as high of jiu-jitsu, but a better wrestler. He's a better striker. He's got a better gas tank. This will be a far more difficult fight, a much more interesting fight. So obviously, I want to see what that number looks like. I hope they get me back in the plus 200s on Chris Curtis, because I'll be lining straight up to do it again. This is a man you don't doubt, Locke. This is one of those moments. This is the next Glover Teixeira, that this man was disregarded and cast away all these years, all this time. He's finally here. What's he got to do to earn some respect? Like, he's knocking heads every time he goes out there. What's he got to do? I need to run the tape. Obviously, Chris Curtis at 170 is going to be far more successful than Chris Curtis at 185 long term. but this is another very similar matchup. It's one little step up, but it's still the same kind of guy that if he can keep his distance, if he can keep his range, get inside, rip the body, he's just got a game plan that's hard to stop, man. And if he's got a 15-minute fight, or hell, even a 25-minute fight, like, this guy's gas tank is better than anybody else around. So I don't see him counted out really against anybody. He's just Locke. I'm sorry. He's a tough motherfucker. Like, that guy is so hard to get out of there. I'm on the Chris Action Man Curtis train till I die. And if he comes in a short notice main event, I'm going to lose my shit. I love this.
Main event, co-main event. Let's not
co-main event. Crazy. Okay. Sorry.
Let's not get too crazy here. Aspinall and Blades obviously going to be headlining that card there. But yeah, what a way to make a statement, though, right? To go out there and possibly beat the number 8 guy. Jack Hermanson is number 8 right now. He goes out there and beats him. You got to give him the respect, right? This is like the who was it? There was another fighter that just decided to go up a weight class. Gilbert Burns, right? Casually goes up to welterweight and just starts putting a run together and ends up finding himself in a title shot. That's essentially what Chris Curtis is doing here, right? I want to hold the horses a little bit, because obviously he still has to go out there, sign on the dotted line against Jack Hermanson and actually step inside the cage. But this is how you would make that move, right? If you guys remember the Gilbert Burns run, like, it was a couple. I think he took the Alexei Kunchenko fight on short notice, and then from there, it was just off to the races for him, because he was very he was consistent, right? After the Kunchenko fight, he fought Gunnar freaking Nelson. Then he fights Damian Maia. Then he gets Tyron Woodley in a pretty much a number 1 contender fight spot. Then he gets the title shot. So how many fights is that? 2. It took him 4 fights to get a title shot in the welterweight division. We're already at 3 now for Curtis, if I'm not mistaken, right? Gets another one over Jack, gets another big spot over that. Maybe gets a Robert Whittaker fight. Who knows? He's probably fighting for a title. But again, I think we're getting a little bit too ahead of ourselves there. Chris Curtis, fun guy. I mean, you're throwing in the Glover Teixeira comparisons, which I'm kind of, like, giving you a little bit of a side eye for. Let's not get that crazy. But he should definitely go out there and, he's going to make a good name for himself. He's going to be a UFC lifer at this point in time. He's shown us that he has what it takes to bang with the top guys. And I'm excited.
And he's fun.
He is fun. He is fun.
They'll keep him around. If he happened to go on a skid, they'll keep him around. 4 losses in a row. Who cares? It's never a boring fight. Put him back in there.
Honestly, I love the guy, and it looks like he has a very lovable attitude. I heard he's a dick. I heard he's a little bit of a dick. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's friends with Sean Strickland. Like, I mean, he hangs out with Sean Strickland. No, he's honestly
just by association, you'd say.
Exactly. No, I've had some interactions with him online. I've heard nothing about him being a dick. He's only ever been cool with me. He's got thick skin though, so like people that try to troll him or mess with him online and stuff, he's not having it. He's not the guy that you're gonna mess with. I love it until I have any type of indication that he is just an absolute shit human being, which I don't think we're ever gonna get. I'm on the train until the wheels fall off. I don't know that he's championship material at 185 though, Locke. Even being a rabid fanboy like I am, he's got to go down to 170. Like, when you'll hit a certain point where the men just get to be too big. You know what I mean? So I think he will eventually have to cut back down to 170. But I do think that he can make a title run at 170 if he continues on the type of heater that he is at this point. We'll see what happens when he cracks that top 10. People with numbers next to their names, it gets a whole hell of a lot harder in those fights. Much more well-rounded. They'll expose any openings and weaknesses. We haven't seen anybody be able to do that yet, so I got no reason to believe that it's going to start now. I'm gonna back him until that streak stops, man. You can only jump on a winning streak once. When it's over, it's over. I'm staying on the train.
I hear you.
All right.
Enough with the Chris Curtis talk here. Let's get on to the guy that deserves the spotlight that should have kicked off the show with here. We got my guy Alexander Volkanovski going out there and having a tremendous performance against Max Holloway, closing the chapter emphatically on Max Holloway with that 3rd fight, and pretty much just he beat him pillar to post, man. It started to get worse and worse as the fight went on. Maybe it was just a damage done to Holloway in round 3 with that nasty cut over his eye, where it just made it look worse as the fight continued. But man, he was faster to the punch. There was that crazy picture I showed it to you the other day where he's just kind of like screaming at Max Holloway, and Max Holloway posted that afterwards and kind of giving the respect to Volkanovski.
Love that picture.
Absolutely badass picture that I need framed. So if anybody is hoping to get me a gift or something, that is probably the way to go about it. Speaking of gift, let me gift this to my mouth 1 second. So yeah, great performance from him there. one of the best, actually the best performance we've seen from him to date. Let's be honest. You know, I'll pass it on over to you, and then we'll talk about where he goes from here. What were your thoughts on the matchup and his performance, probably career-defining performance as well?
It was phenomenal. This is a spot where I talked about it on my show when it comes to a betting angle. I was like, man, I feel like maybe the line is wide. They're disrespecting Max after how close the last two fights have been. And it was pure dominance. Like Max never had a shot in that fight, man. It was ridiculous. The footwork, the movement. He knew what Max was going to do before Max did. I had a conversation with somebody about Max has got to go for broke. You know, you're down 4-0 going into the 5th. Like, go for it. He couldn't even do that, Locke, because Volkanovski was so good and so dominant. He was never in a spot to get finished. Like, Max Holloway gave absolutely everything he had, and there was no opportunity for him to actually end that fight at any stage of it. So I'm blown away by the performance from Volkanovski. And I think more so than that performance, we got to kind of wonder what comes next for him, right? I mean, does this man move up to 155? Does he hang out and defend the title more at 170? That's really my question, because it was, as far as I'm concerned, it was Max and then everybody else. Like, once you get done with Max, and I am a Josh Emmett guy. We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago. I have been pulling for Josh Emmett to get his title shot. But Max and Volkanovski were head and shoulders above the rest of the division, and Volkanovski just pulled away. Max is 2 levels below him now. Nobody else is going to touch this guy. He's our new Anderson Silva. Like, only Father Time is going to catch him. I want to see what he looks like in some other matchups. What are your thoughts on him staying and defending, or is he moving up?
I hate the whole super fight thing now, right? Like, there was a point in time where we just kept getting them every couple months. It seemed like super fight this, super fight that, and I still feel like we need to give it a little bit more time to breathe. And although a matchup with Volkanovski with either Charles Oliveira or Islam Makhachev would be amazing, I want my super fights to be like both champions of both divisions have nobody else to face. Like, there is no clear number one contender that they need to get past to finally, cement themselves as the undisputed lightweight guy. Charles isn't technically the champion at this point in time, and we can say what we want about the circumstances surrounding that, but he clearly has Islam Makhachev next. Give me Charles and Islam first. Let's keep Volkanovski busy with Josh Emmett. You know what I mean? He seems to be the clear next guy. Like, obviously, it's not, nobody's clamoring for that matchup, but he's the clear next guy. Let's do those 2 matchups first. Then we'll see where the lightweight division is. Is there another guy that Islam has to go out there and beat? I don't mind keeping Volkanovski busy at his weight class. Let him get his due in that division, right? He's only defended the title 4 times. I think the record is Jose Aldo with 8. So he's not even halfway to kind of passing that record. There are guys that will eventually start to show up in this featherweight division. Right now, it's Josh Emmett. I think eventually the matchup that we're all going to be looking forward to is Movsar Evloev versus Alexander Volkanovski. But Evloev still has some work to do. He still has 2 more fights at least he needs to have to be a legitimate number 1 contender. His last win over Dan Ige was great. It's a good win over a ranked guy, over a guy who's headlined events in the past. Now let's get him 1 or 2 more, and then we'll finally get him into a title shot there. But in terms of Volkanovski's next move this second, give him Josh Emmett. Keep him busy with Josh Emmett. Let lightweight figure itself out first. Give us a legitimate, undisputed champion, and then let's talk about a super fight.
Look, I want to disagree with you. I was hoping you came in here with a different opinion so that I could spit some fire, get into it with you, disagree. But I'm right there with you. First off, I love Josh Emmett. I absolutely love the guy. He's put his time in. He's older now. He's coming off of a big, rough fight. Don't make that man wait one more. Don't put that man back in the queue. But I want to see Josh Emmett get his title shot. And 155, God, I don't know when we're going to see a clear title holder, man. Because right now we've got Charlie O. Put that belt around his waist. He is your champion. Can you believe Mike Chandler went out there and pitched a fight between himself and Islam Makhachev for the vacant 155 title? Get the fuck out of here, Michael Chandler.
Like, I was just starting to like him too.
What is that? Our rightful champion is Charles do Bronx Oliveira. So they need to do Charles versus Islam. I love that fight. But let's not pretend like 155 isn't stacked as all hell. We know Conor McGregor is going to end up in either a number one contender or a title shot fight the second that he is healthy. We've got guys on the rise like Jalen Turner. I mean, jumping the line at 155, that's the most crowded line. That's Disneyland. Like, you get a fast pass and you still got to wait 20 minutes. Like, you're not going anywhere at 155. So as much as Volkanovski looks like he's the greatest of all time at 145, and I believe when he makes the move, he does deserve an immediate title shot up a weight class, because that's how damn good he is. Now's not the time. There's too much other shit going on at 155. It's not about Volkanovski and how good he is. It's about the other stuff that we got to sort out. Get Charlie O his belt back, or let us know that Islam is in fact the rightful ruler at 155, and let's sort it all out after that. So I completely agree with you. Let's go Volkanovski versus Josh Emmett. Give the man his shot.
Remember, like, the logjam there always used to be at 55 and 45 with the whole Connor fiasco and Jose Aldo never being able to stay busy enough.
It was
like
gross.
And not to mention all the top flight guys in those divisions that we had just waiting for their own title shots, right? There's a point in time where Khabib was waiting for a title shot for how long? And we clearly found out that he's probably one of the best lightweights of all time, right? So let's keep it going. Let's just keep on the pedal of getting these ranked guys their fights, the guys who deserve their fights. Let's keep it going. Yeah, I'm glad that we're on the same page there. All right, let us move on to the next big thing here, because there's nothing quite like a number one contender showing himself the same night that the champion goes out there and defends his title, right? No, we're not going to be talking about Israel Adesanya's main event fight against Jared Cannonier, because I almost even forgot Jared Cannonier was involved with that main event, as you guys can tell, right? Let's talk about Alex Pereira as an unranked fighter stamping his ticket to a title fight, right? Like, we don't see that often. We don't often see a guy go from unranked to title fight. That's what we're going to be getting here with Alex Pereira because of the state of this division. It's going to be a little bit until we see another guy with an actual rank beside his name that we want to see fight Israel Adesanya. But given the backstory that we have with Pereira and Izzy, and how much of a statement he actually made against Sean Strickland that night, right? Not only did he go out there and beat him, but he beat him emphatically. He put him out, something that Sean Strickland hasn't faced since, way before his motorcycle accident, when he was still down at 170 pounds and got knocked out by Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. So there is no other clear number one contender than Alex Pereira here. And just for the storyline's sake, the UFC could not have written it up any better, right? 3 fights in the UFC. Alex Pereira beats each guy. He comes back a little bit against Mihail Arias, gets a highlight reel finish there, beats Bruno Silva while dealing with the full MMA game, and then goes out there and dispatches of a legitimate guy in Sean Strickland, and then calls out Izzy after that. So you couldn't have drawn it up any better than this. I am super very excited to see Alex Pereira get that title shot. And we already have odds on it, Clint. So I'll pass it on over to you here. Thinking about the odds, -170 Israel Adesanya, +140 the return on Alex Pereira. What are you thinking here?
Man, this is such a tough situation. I mean, it's super impressive what Pereira has done. It was super disappointing what Sean Strickland did on Saturday, walking straight into the UFC's plan. Boy, as a company man, did exactly what Uncle Dana wanted him to do in that fight. I can't wait to see it, man. I'm so excited for that rematch. It's the one guy recently that has had anything to do with Israel Adesanya. It's the one guy who's been able to put hands on him and touch him. Let's be honest, he's had a death grip on the 185-pound division, and I've been a huge fan of Israel Adesanya's. But he's gone GSP on me, man. He's boring now. And I hate to say that, because it is technical mastery. Like, it's technical mastery what that man does. He completely shuts his opponent's games down, and that's great. But after 25 minutes of it, 3 fights in a row, it gets old, man. This is that spice that we needed to get a fire under Israel Adesanya. This is that danger, a guy that not only can, but we know has already knocked him out, maybe shake things up. And I'll be honest with you, Locke, if I can find a book that's offering odds on future champions for 2022, because I know sometimes they do those kinds of things, I'm gonna be betting on Marvin Vettori.
Whoa,
If Pereira
whoa,
comes out, if Pereira comes out and he clips Israel Adesanya and puts him down, Marvin Vettori puts that man on his ass and never lets him up. He's gonna take the belt. What are your thoughts
that
on
went
the potential
a
matchup?
completely different way than I expected it to go. And the reason I was doing this as well earlier, I was like, hey, watch your mouth about the greatest Canadian living right now in George St. Pierre. But I'm glad that you were kind of easy on him there. But
I got a chip
sure
on my shoulder, Locke. I'll tell you. The only man who my wife has ever loved besides me was George St. Pierre, right? When we first got into MMA, she had the biggest crush on that man. She bought a calendar of that man. Like, it was not fair. I don't like GSP. I respect him. Don't have to like him.
Sorry, yeah. When you have a show with a fellow Canadian, you gotta like him. I apologize. Just for that, I'm going to send you some sort of GSP merch that you're going to have to wear, maybe as a punishment to one of the challenges that we're having against each other here. But I see the angle with Marvin. I gotta say, I want to see more. Again, Marvin's like a brute with his wrestling, right? He's not technically the best wrestler, but his determination to continue to move forward and attack wrestling techniques is why he's as successful as he is. We didn't see it. We didn't see it work against Israel Adesanya. And honestly, when I was breaking down Alex Pereira last week, I kept referring to seeing early UFC tendencies from Alex Pereira, especially with his his defensive grappling, right? Never settled for any position, always working back to his feet, never let his opponent get comfortable on top. And that's exactly what we saw from him in those first two fights with Michailidis and Bruno Silva. Now, obviously, I get it. Marvin Vettori is better than those guys, but I don't think it's to an extent where we have to think about him, Marvin Vettori beating Alex Pereira. I would definitely take Pereira in that spot as long as you give me like minus 150. Nothing worse than that, minus 160. But I'd probably be on the Pereira train there. It's gotten middleweight exciting again, right? Like after Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya too, which I still kind of think that Robert Whittaker maybe deserved his hand getting raised that night, but the Jared Cannonier fight just slowed things down. Like this feels like when Nick Diaz finally got into the welterweight division in the UFC, and GSP is like, okay, that's going to be my next guy. Unfortunately, the fight didn't play out as entertaining as most people expected, but the buildup was great. It injected new life into the welterweight division. It got people interested in seeing GSP go out there and fight guys again. But I'm very excited about Pereira, his addition here, the way his UFC career has panned out thus far, and the fact that we will likely get this fight before the end of the year. All right, let's transition on to the last topic here before we get into the segments. Let's just take a quick question here from my guy Effie. It was a suggestion. He's saying, I can't wait to bet on Izzy versus Alex. I don't think many people have watched those two kickboxing fights. I think he's kind of, pointing to maybe Izzy was winning most of those fights before he eventually got knocked out. Doesn't mean that it can't happen again. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Izzy goes full Francis Ngannou and decides to switch things up and put his singlet on.
Wow.
What if, okay, here we go.
There it is. There it is.
What if Israel Adesanya's fight was so boring with Jared Cannonier because he's been working his wrestling? He knew exactly what he needed to do against Jared Cannonier, which is get back to the basics, stay safe, dull it down, because he didn't work any striking. He's only been grappling for the last 6 months. That's the key. We got Izzy by submission when he takes on Pereira.
when this is going to be Clint coming in, betting Israel Adesanya that night, thinking that he's going to get an easy wrestling win. This is going to be him for the majority of that show. I don't know. I was hoping that he'd be able to do it, but he probably won't. But Clint, let's spin this forward to the last thing here before we get to the segments.
Yeah.
Donald Cowboy Cerrone taking off the gloves after getting finished by Jim Miller in round 2. He wasn't looking too bad. He was putting his combinations together. He was making Jim Miller work from the outside. But unfortunately, Jim Miller eventually finds that big blow, hurts Cowboy Cerrone, and then locks in. I think it was a guillotine choke, if I'm not mistaken, and he got him to tap. Arm in guillotine. Yeah, that you're not getting out of that with Jim Miller, especially if you are rocked as well. Unfortunate end to Donald Cowboy Cerrone's career, but man, the guy has had a hell of a career. I think he's going to go out. Well, eventually he'll probably get his record beaten here, but I think he's going to have second most wins in or at least tied for second most wins in UFC history with Andrei Arlovski. Jim Miller now stands firmly at the top as the number one guy with the most UFC victories. But Cowboy, man, his run's been interesting. Remember when like he used to be the guy that would just take a fight every 2 months and just would stay busy as hell? That's why he has as many wins as he has. That's why he has as many appearances in the UFC as he has. And I just realized I forgot to restart my timer. So let me just take another shot just to make up for it.
Get it.
But yeah, this run that he was on before his first title fight in the UFC, UFC 167, defeats Evan Dunham, and he goes on to beat Adriano Martins, Edson Barboza, Jim Miller, Eddie Alvarez, Miles Jury, Ben Henderson. I was at that fight. That was the night of McGregor Seaver. John McDessie knocks him out with a head kick. That lines him up for a title shot against Rafael Dos Anjos, who was actually his last loss before that fight as well. Dos Anjos beat him by decision back in August of 2013, and Dos Anjos goes out there and just tears through them. 1 minute and 6 seconds gets him out of there in the first round, and we don't really get much of Cowboy Cerrone in terms of any type of title, like even coming close to touching gold, right? He's fought for the title a couple times, but he's never officially been able to touch gold. He always seems to choke in those big spots, right? The Masvidal spot was a big spot, chokes there. Robbie Lawler's spot, chokes there. Darren Till, main event in Poland, gets knocked out there. So it's unfortunate that's what his career will likely be known as the guy that was just so good, but every time he got to that spot, that was the make or break spot, he fell short. But he provided us with so many memories, man. When he was on that Rick Story combination that he landed, I'm not sure if you remember that guy that made that GIF or the meme with the him turning Super Saiyan while he's doing
Absolutely,
it.
I do.
That was the most badass shit what I can remember off the top of my head. But man, Cerrone was a character. He was fun. He was entertaining. He always brought it for the most part. But at the latter half of his career, it really started to go downhill. But I choose to remember him for that guy that would take a fight every 2 months and more often than not win it. You know what I mean? Club and sub. Yeah. He used to be the club and sub guy. What were your favorite memories of Cowboy Cerrone now that he's finally hung up the gloves?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, Locke. I am old school, so like I remember when the UFC absorbed the WEC. I remember him and Anthony Pettis coming over with a chip on their shoulder, and I remember him getting on the microphone after winning his UFC debut and being like, "Where's Big Brother at now?" Because like everyone was talking about how the UFC guys were all so much better than the WEC guys and they would stand no chance. And then you had him as like a top 5 guy and Anthony Pettis holding the belt for like, it was insane. I absolutely loved prime Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He was a monster like nobody we've ever seen. People, I mean, honestly, Action Man is as close as it gets to what Cowboy is doing at this stage of life. Nobody plays it like that anymore, man. The head kick over Matt Brown. You mentioned the combo that he threw on Rick Story. I mean, even when people finally started to think he was going to go downhill after he lost to Leon Edwards, the armbar of Mike Perry, like he just pulled stuff out of nowhere and stayed relevant for so long. And he's just such a fun personality. I mean, he cost me my last ticket, Locke. I bet on him against Jim Miller, and honestly, I swear, if you watch that fight, if he wasn't completely checked out, he wins that fight because he head kicked Jim Miller. He was sloppy. He was off balance. He didn't defend the choke. Like, I'm going to have to reset my brain because I can't remember Donald Cerrone as the guy that blew that last fight. I got to go back. Got to jump in the time machine. Remember all the good times. He's a legend. I appreciate every single thing he's done for this sport because he had a big hand in pushing the popularity of the UFC to where it is now. He'll be missed, man. Donald Cerrone, absolutely a legend, deserving of his spot in the Hall of Fame. He will be missed.
Like, this is a man that has wins over guys like the current, well, quote unquote, the current lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira. Beat him in August 2011.
No quotes.
Jeremy Stevens. Melvin Gillard, Evan Dunham, Edson Barboza, Eddie Alvarez. You even want to go earlier in his career. Shout out to my guy, James Krause, but I got choked out James Krause with the rear naked choke. Like Danny Castillo way back in the day. Like so many quality wins under his belt. But again, once he got to the point that he needed to get that dub, it unfortunately didn't come to fruition. But one for sure. Cheers to Cowboys' career. Fun career as always. I will remember my last thought. I'm going to try to wipe out all the other losses that he had to end his career, but I will try to make my last memory of him the whole Alexander Hernandez lead up and fight an
Yes.
ultimate victory there. So shout out to Cowboy, great career.
Cheers, Cowboy. And honestly, you know, that Alexander Hernandez spot, man, that's the one where I pronounced him dead on arrival. He shut me up that night. That was a hell of a performance. Absolutely loved it. So yep, gonna definitely remember the good times that was prime Donald Cerrone. And at least he didn't go full BJ Penn on us, Lock. At least, you know, he might have tapped to a fellow legend in Jim Miller. He got standing TKO'd by a guy, but you know what? He didn't go out on his shield 5 times in a row, completely unconscious, brain damaged. Like he chose the right time to stop. I'm proud of him. Even though it was an ugly skid here at the end, it was against upper level of competition, and he didn't even look all that ugly doing it. I'm proud of him for going out at the right time.
Yeah, not a lot of guys get to do that. Glad that he was able to do so.
Agreed. All right, we gotta go ahead and move the show along here, Locke. Next up, we're getting into the segments, everybody. We got to talk about our ups, our downs, our investments. That's right. It is Fighter Stonks. Fighter Stonks is brought to you by Prediction Strike. We actually get to invest in athletes as though they were a stock market, and it makes it highly entertaining. Locke and I have developed a game around it, and we have a good time with it. So what I am going to do is share with you my portfolio here and see if there's going to be any moves that I'm making for this week. Right here, we've got my stable of fighters. We're looking pretty good. Lots of green now. About 2-3 weeks ago, it was a lot of red, but we're getting up there now. Not so good down here on the bottom, but a couple of options. This week in action, I've got Kyle Braulo. Love this spot. He's already up 26% since I purchased him. I'm picking him to win on Saturday, so not doing a damn thing there. Just going to continue to watch that number edge its way up. David Onama, the fight got saved, Lock. We got a short notice replacement coming in here, so David Onama will be fighting on Saturday. I am super excited about this kid. Out of Glory MMA, you mentioned James Krause, training partner with my guy, El Jefe. I'm looking forward to Onama and what he can do. I really think there's only one move I need to make, Lock. There's just one thing that I need to do this week, and that's buying me some
you son of a gun.
You got to go first last week. It's my turn to go first. I knew you were going to be on the same page as me, but I am purchasing one share of Mr. Tresean Gore. I think it's a buy low spot, Lock. I think that everyone has kind of forgotten with his most recent loss. They all piled around him against Brian Battle. Everyone expected him to take out Battle, no problem, easy, and he dropped the ball there. I personally bet Battle, so now that everyone's off Gore because he disappointed them, I'm ready to jump on him at a nice low price tag against an opponent who I think he is perfectly suited to beat. Those are my moves. Come play Fighter Stonks with us. Sign up, promo code LOCK, get you an extra fighter share with a deposit of $20 or more. Manpreet, are you doing anything for this week's Fighter Stonks?
Yeah, so I did have 2 fighters compete this past week. Let me just quickly pull that up here for you guys and see what we got. But the first of which was Mr. Alex Pereira. Goes up a solid amount. I even had to tweet you about it, Clint. About a 23% gain on him there.
That is a big jump, Luck. That is a big jump for one single event.
Look at how steady it stayed, right? We're used to the pump and dumps. There is a bit of a dump there, but it still manages to hold tight because a lot of people know he's fighting Israel Adesanya next, or at least should be fighting Adesanya next. So they're probably going to hold on and hope that he's able to capture the title and maybe even get to a higher price tag. The other person that I had compete was none other than Macy Barber, and her stock up went a little bit here as well. Officially 34% gain on her since I have purchased her. A little bit more of a dump that we're seeing here now.
That is a big dump.
A legitimate dump there, but still 35% gain on her since I have purchased her. So I can't be mad there. Shout out to another power hour shot. Give me 1 second. Oh my God. I hate alcohol. So moving forward, there is one fighter that I want to purchase, and funnily enough, Clint, it is going to be a head-to-head with you.
Oh, now we're talking.
Disrespecting my guy, Armin Petrosian. I'm seeing nothing but love for Kyle this week. I can't get it. I can't don't, but I'm going to take a shot on him here at $1.06. I think he has a lot of things to be excited about in terms of his game, his ability to, get out of bad positions. His submission defense has looked great. His grappling defense has looked great. And to top it all off, we know his striking is where he does his best work. So I'm expecting him to go out there, pull off the upset against Kyle Baralho here this weekend, and likely see an increase in that stock. I could see him crack in the top 15. I could see him even make it all the way to the top 10. But I want to make sure I have my stock before we get to those peaks here. So shout out to my guy, Armin Petrosian. He will be the only stock that I purchased this week. I'm not going to...
People don't know, Locke. We already talked about this one behind the scenes, man. You and I went over this matchup, and I'm loving this head-to-head here. I see that stock on your side plummet. You'll sell him off, and then I'm going to snatch him up the next week.
There's a couple guys here that I'm going to eventually have to sell, right? I don't want to hold on to Kutulaba any longer, Nick Maximov, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a shot, hopefully to at least make some money back for me next time around, and then I'll probably get rid of them. But yeah, those are the two spots that I want to go with, or sorry, that one spot that I want to go with for Fighter Stonks. Let us move on to our next segment here, which is going to be the Daily Doofus. Let's get into the Daily Doofus. Daily Doofus is back. It's been a while since we've been able to clown on some people in the MMA world. And I'm going to do another kind of a bit of a... I've done this one before, but I feel like that they need to hear it once again, Clint. I got to give it to the MMA fans and their blatant disregard for disrespecting Pedro Munhoz. Agreed. And that eye poke. Good God, that was horrible. The people questioning him that he's scared of Sean O'Malley makes absolutely no sense to me, considering the names that he's already fought in the past. Jose Aldo doesn't ring a bell for you guys. You know what I mean? All the other big names that we've seen Pedro Munhoz go up against, never shown any type of quit or willing.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Slow-mo it. Watch the flesh of his face ripple as the finger goes into his eye.
I'll admit this. There is one other view that they showed us where it didn't look as bad, but this is the view. This is the fucking view that you guys need to see. It's in there. We see the damage on it afterwards. We see his medical documents. Reaction. Yeah, like Pedro Munhoz has never been a guy that's been looking for a way out. Especially not looking for a way out, especially in a fight that he's arguably winning. Right? He won that first round.
Not arguably, is winning.
Right? he definitely won that round. I'm sure we can find the scorecards here somewhere on Twitter, but
it's verified. 2 judges to 1. Lock. Sal freaking D'Amato is the only one who scored that for Sean O'Malley. If I'm gonna jump in, Lock. I'm on the train here. If you would like to go to war and the only person standing behind you agreeing with your argument is Sal freaking D'Amato, you go right ahead. You have sunk your own ship. You've lost all credibility. Everybody on the planet except for Sean O'Malley, Dick Riders, and Sal D'Amato knows that round 1 went to Pedro Munhoz. So you go right ahead and argue that he somehow managed to win that round, even though he was on the defensive and did a curtsy and a little spin at the end of it. That somehow won him the round. Get out. Get out.
Yeah, I don't know how to top that. I'm going with the fans as the Daily Doofus here. It feels like you almost agree. Well, I'll swing it on over to you. What do you have for the Daily Doofus?
Like, I had 2 options. I was waiting to see who you went with because my Daily Doofus was either going to be Sean O'Malley for playing it up the way that he did and doing his little dumbass dribble and shoot for you. Bro, you lost round 1. You fouled a man twice and you poked his eye so badly the fight is over, but you want to parade around like you finished one of the toughest fighters to finish in the UFC. I'm not having it. That is some Daily Doofus kind of bullshit. If you hadn't already gone with that topic, Lock, I was going to go back to my rant on Michael Chandler. I cannot believe the audacity of this man to have dropped a couple fights, beat up Tony Ferguson, and then immediately try to jump the sitting rightful champion to an interim belt to replace the vacant title. Like, what do you do? Like, I understand you got to look out for number one. You got to put food on the family's table. You want your own belt. Like, if he were to somehow get the belt with Charlie being the one who didn't have it, that would set up a great storyline. Like, I get it, but come on. Charlie is healthy. Charlie just defended his title. We saw what happened with Daniel Cormier. He admitted to grabbing the towel, put that belt back around the waist of Charles Oliveira. They didn't strip DC when he was the one doing the dang thing. My man Charlie's the rightful champion, and my daily doofus is going to be Michael Chandler for even suggesting that that title is vacant and trying to slide his way into a spot there in that fight. It's Charlie. It's Islam. Bro, wait your turn. I got a little fired up. I'm sorry.
No, rightfully so. Like, like I said before, I was becoming a fan of this guy, right? There was a more in time where he came into the UFC and he wasn't that liked for some reason. And then I started to, warm up to him. There was that one clip that he released of that blue goo on his face or whatever the fuck he put on his face after the Justin Gaethje fight. And he was talking to his son where he was just telling him everything that he needs to do to be a great man. And then at the end, he says, I'll see you at the top. Like, to say that to his kid is just fucking hilarious to me. And I started warming up to him. But this Clint. Yeah.
It's no good. It's no bueno.
No bueno. Let's move on to the deadlock duel, my friend. I'm taking the reins here, Clint. Fuck it. The alcohol is taking over.
He's off the rails.
The last time we did this, we went an hour and 20 minutes, and I am doing my darndest to make sure we don't go an hour and 20 minutes again. So I'm taking the reins here. I'm going to kick things off here for the deadlock duel. So the reason I am doing the power hour is because Clint has won the deadlock duel. He did end up beating me 13-8. Swept me on UFC 275, and then we went 1-1 on the Cater and Ismagulov card, or sorry, Cater and Emmett card. We both picked Cater. I picked Ismagulov. He picked Guram. I got the better end of that, but it still did not make up for the fact that he was already up before that. That brings us into a clean slate. This is going to go from July until I am done taking down this shot. If you guys give me a goddamn second. This will go, what is it, July, August, September. Yeah, to the end of September will be the third quarter. But thankfully, we are back at a 0-0 mark here. So I'm going to kick things off for UFC Vegas 58, which is this weekend. And then following that, we'll be doing UFC Long Island, which Clint, actually, it looks like Clint will actually be getting the first pick for UFC Vegas 58. So Clint, please let us know what your main event selection is, as well as a different main card fight. What are you going to be going with?
As much as it pains me to say it, Locke, I think Rafael Fiziev is the favorite to win, rightfully so, in the main event here. He's younger. This seems to be a changing of the guard. I do think that Rafael dos Anjos can make this fight interesting and close if it goes all 25 minutes, because we have seen Fiziev slow down, but if Fiziev is able to bank the first 3 rounds, very nice. Very nice.
I couldn't hold it. I'm sorry.
At the end of the day, I got to side with the favorite. You know what I mean? When it comes to betting, I'd be tempted to throw a couple shekels at the underdog here, or maybe like jump in live if it looks like Fiziev is starting to slow down a little bit. But if I'm just doing a blind pick and I get points for being right at the end of it, I think Fiziev gets his hand raised at the end of it. And then, you know what, Locke? Honestly, I'm going to try and drive the knife just as deep as humanly possible here to kick off this next run of the deadlock duel. We're already going head to head with the Fighter Stonks. We might as well go head to head.
Nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I'm going to side with the favorite, Caio Borralho. He's the minus 200 favorite in this spot, rightfully so. Again, I think he's in the co-main slot because the UFC wants to push him. He's taken on Armen Petrosyan, who, while I did cash a ticket with him last time, got a little lucky getting the nod there against Gregory Rodriguez. And I think a lot of people are falling into the trap of betting him as a big underdog again because he won last time. I think he's going to lose this weekend, and I think I'm just going to lock up 2 quick points to start off this next round of the deadlock duel. What about you, buddy?
You would love for me to start off with an underdog on the first event, wouldn't you? You would love it, wouldn't you? Main event, I am going to go with Fiziev. I do agree with you there. The line value seems to be on the RDA side, but we are taking aspects of betting into this deadlock duel, but not to the extent of a long-term game like that, right? So I want to get my quick points here. I do think that Fiziev will likely at least take 3 rounds here. If he doesn't finish RDA, I think he will do enough to win those 3 rounds and do enough to survive in the next 2. His speed, his technique, his power, I think is just a little bit too much for the 37-year-old RDA this weekend. And then for my other pick, I would love to go with Petrosian, but I'm trying to get on the goddamn board here, Clint. I need to keep this thing as close as possible until I see an underdog that's very much barking at me. Similar to how Jake Matthews was barking at me the other week. I don't get that feeling with Petrosian. I do, I will likely have a bet on him here, on my official picks. But in terms of the deadlock duel, there's a much safer spot on the main card that you didn't decide to go with. So I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov and say that he goes out there and beats Douglas Silva de Andrade, maybe even finishes him. But let me get a quick 2 points as well. I'm hoping Kyle fails for you so I can end up 2-1 after this event. But I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov. Now, let's get into the UFC Long Island picks, which I actually haven't even completely looked at yet, but I know in the main event between Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega, I am going to go with Yair Rodriguez. He's currently sitting at plus 140. I'm assuming that line will start to close as we get closer to fight day. And also just a note, that's an early card, Clint. So it's going to be an 8 a.m. start time for you next Saturday prelims.
Thank you for warning me.
Yeah, 11 a.m. prelim start time for UFC Long Island, which is not this weekend, but the following week. Give me 1 second.
Mimosas and waffles, baby. I'm going to be ready with my breakfast drinks.
Nothing I love more than early fights. So 11 a.m. Eastern start time there. Now, in terms of a main event pick, I'm going to go Yair here. I think he'll do a good enough job in terms of keeping this fight upright. And then when it's upright, we know who's a much better striker here. I love what we saw from Yair in his fight with Max Holloway. Made that a lot closer than the minus 600 price tag on Max Holloway made it seem. He was able to take rounds 1 and 5. Again, if Yair can keep this on the feet, he should be able to dust up Brian Ortega. I don't know if he'll finish him, right? Because Brian Ortega is getting to that realm of zombies where it's going to be very difficult to put him away. But I do think that Yair has the power to take him out. But I will take Yair as the underdog there. And then for another main card selection, I'm going to go with Sumadarji. I think he goes out there and knocks out Matt Schnell. I think he's the better striker. Maybe not technically speaking, but I think he does a really good job in terms of managing his range and letting his strikes go the way that he should. And I do think that Matt Schnell is quite fragile at this state of his career too. So maybe a potential violence bet for me once we start, looking into that card. But in terms of the deadlock duel, 2 weeks in advance, I'm going Sumadarji. Again, underdog in the main event, favorite on the other side of the card. Clint, what about yourself? What are you liking for UFC Long Island?
The thing that people don't take into account for these deadlock dual punishments, Lock, is that I already automatically have a leg up on the next round of the deadlock duel because the man is wasted trying to make his picks here on the stream. So he has not looked at these fights. He hasn't taped them. He's not ready for them. He's tipsy. Nope. I'm like, I already got a lead going into the next round because of this.
Clint.
That hidden value, Lock.
I hate you.
So believe it or not, I'm actually going to agree with you on the Yair Rodriguez spot. I do kind of like Yair in that fight. This is one of those spots. I haven't done the research much like you. I think it's close. I think it's kind of coin flippy. You can argue that I think either of these guys can look minus 300 if the fight is in their realm. So if this thing hits the ground, then yeah, Brian Ortega is probably going to style on Yair Rodriguez. We saw Frankie Edgar do it not that long ago, but I don't know that he is that good of a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu player, for days, but I don't know if he's a good enough wrestler to pull that off. Now, if it's standing on the feet, even though we saw a good fight with Chan Sung Jung, I don't think Brian Ortega is on the same level as Yair, and I think Yair can probably piece him up on the feet for 25 minutes. I expect to be close, competitive, I'll take the dog. If we're flipping a coin, I might as well fall on that
Clint.
plus side and look for the extra points. Sorry to spoil your attempt at doubling up there on some dog money. What I am going to do is then side with, you know what? You're going to have to tell me. I haven't even looked at the odds for this yet, so I'm not sure who the favorite or the underdog is. I think I want, actually, I'm just going to go with Amanda Lemos. I know she's the favorite. That's a chalky pick.
Yeah.
That's a chalky pick, and I do apologize for that. But I thought that one of the other fights, I was going to pick an underdog, but apparently it's on the preliminary card, so I won't be able to get to it. So yeah, I'll take the fave. I will roll here with Amanda Lemos in the co-main event to get it done over Michelle Waterson, get us back in the win column. Hopefully at least go 1-1 on that event for the picks.
Not bad, not bad. Hopefully you end up losing all those picks so I don't have to fucking do this again in 3 months. Because I'm hating it.
I'm fine just not losing the deadlock duel. As long as we do this show, I'll just go undefeated in the deadlock duel and we'll all have a great time.
I fucking hate you. I love you, but I hate you. All right, we got one more segment to go. Let me try to wrap this up before I get even more drunk.
I love the pain in your voice.
Let's get deep. Let's fucking get deep.
Let's get deep.
All right. I got a good question here. And just as I say that, the fucking timer goes off.
These are my favorite shows. I hope I'm on the right side of these shows every time.
We'll see, Clint. All right. Question here for you, Clint. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you pick?
Ooh. This is maybe the lamest thing I could possibly say, but I think I'd go to Vegas. Like I'm already a desert boy. I'm here in Phoenix. I'm used to the temperature. I love me some gambling. And if there was anywhere else in this world that I would want to be, it would probably be Vegas because I'm still close to my family. I can still do all the things that I want to do as far as my forms of entertainment and things like that. I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at, Locke. It's funny. I don't have these, lofty desires to move to Rome or anything like that. I actually want to visit Japan. Like that's the one place in the world that I'm I really want to go check out Japan. It looks cool. It looks like they do everything weird and different over there. And I love it. I'm a nerd. I like me some anime. So I want to go to Japan, but I don't think I want to live there. So like if we're talking move and stay there for the rest of my life, yeah, send me right around the corner, man. I'll drive down the street to Vegas and camp out there.
Not a bad choice there, and I spilled a little bit of alcohol on my wireless keyboard, so this should be fucking great. I'm hoping it doesn't die on me here. Vegas is a great fucking answer, especially for what we do and the sport that we love. It is clearly the the mecca of our sport.
I was going to say like California or something, but they don't even have legalized online sports betting yet. So I don't want to move out there. I can't do what I want to do out there.
Honestly, my dream has always been to get like a couple 100 acres of land and just fucking live away from everything. Like have a good enough internet connection that I can still do my work in the way that I want to do it. But I want to live I want my driveway to start 3 kilometers away from my house. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be away. I don't want to be near civilization. I don't want to be near I don't want to step onto my balcony and hear traffic. You know what I mean? That's the main thing.
And you're raising what, herds of goats or cattle? Which one are we going with?
Goats, because that's what I know. See, quick on his feet with the alcohol.
He still got it.
Vegas. I would absolutely say Vegas as well. I think that's a great fucking answer. Shout out to our guy Luke Lamp from fucking Sparring with Reality, who made the move from there. The guy lived in Wisconsin. It's not like he's fucking, moving down by going to Las Vegas.
I'm going to have to track him down one of these days. He's a neighbor now. I'm going to go find him at a casino and we're going to hang out in Vegas one of these weekends.
Exactly. Even shout out to my guys from Verdict as well. I'm obviously in their MMA Twitter tournament, but they, I went to high school with those guys, and after they got their deal with like that investor company that bought into their company, they all moved down to Vegas. I'm not sure if it's permanent or anything like that, but they say all their contacts and everything are down there, so they're able to stay down there and hang out there. And now I know I have a place to crash if I need to go down there, but. Yeah, man, Vegas would be fucking legit. I don't know if I could sell my wife on it, honestly. I mean, I don't think she hates going to the States to begin with. I mean, so, it would be a tough sell on her. But one of these days, it would be nice to have like an apartment or a condo or something in Vegas that I can just come to for whenever I want to go to fights or something. So
yeah, just crash over at a buddy's house or something. You know what? And I was thinking about it, man. I would say Canada. I would say I would move to Canada, but. Got to tell you, a life of living in the desert, I think you guys would kill me. Like, I couldn't find enough pairs of pants to put on. I would be freezing. I would die of
honestly,
cold.
Hey, Clint, I'm telling you this. The summers in Toronto are fucking amazing because you get the big city feel and then you get the California weather, right? Like you get that, you get the sunny, you get the hot, you get the humid, what you're used to down there in Arizona already. But now you're getting it with the scenery of Toronto and Ontario and everything that it has to offer. So if you ever do visit north of the border, please make sure it's in the summer so you don't have to worry about the snow or anything at all. But quick question for you.
I might come for a ski weekend, but otherwise it's going to be in the summer. I promise you.
When is the last time you saw snow?
I see snow every winter. My family lives up north a little bit. They're still here in Arizona, but like I go to Flagstaff, which is like a ski town up in the mountains and stuff like that. And the town I grew up in is only about an hour out from there. So like I always end up visiting cold places at some point throughout the year. So yeah, if I stayed here where I'm at, I wouldn't see snow hardly at all, but I do make sure to get near the snow about once a year. And
is Flagstaff in Arizona?
Yes, it is.
And is it due to the elevation as to why they see snow?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
It's the one like big mountain peak that we have here in Arizona. So you get over by Flagstaff, it's lots of trees, it's all green. You've got snow on the mountains all the time. It's a real nice, pretty area. But again, it's just too damn cold for me. So I'll visit there once a year. I'll take my kid, going out tubing and going out to play in the cold weather. But that's it. You get me one time per year and then get me back in the warmth. Put a blanket on me.
I love it. I'm not much of a snow guy. I mean, I don't really like playing in the snow too much, but the worst is having to drive it. That's the only issue is driving in the snow is not fun at all. So that's the only thing I'm jealous of you down there. All right, let's wrap this bitch up, Clint. I don't know if I could take any more shots. I need to save my liver for Friday.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the Deadlock podcast. We have fun here. I mean, I would tell you guys to, introduce us, let you know where you can find us. You already know. If you're watching the show, you know the two of us. You know who we are. We have fun. We got some good stuff in the works for you guys. We've got some serious heel turns. We've got new ideas for the Deadlock duel. So in a couple of episodes, not sure if it's the next episode, maybe the one after that, we've got some fun new segments that we're going to introduce and just some big master diabolical evil plans that are coming down the pipe. So make sure, if you haven't already, give us a follow, smash the like button for us on your way out, and subscribe here on the Deadlock podcast if you haven't on YouTube to support us. Everybody wish Locke a wonderful evening. I'm going to stretch this out to make sure he takes like one more shot before
I'd have to open another beer, honestly.
No, you're good, man. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. Give Locke some shit online. Tell him to get it together because he needs to win one of these Deadlock duels. Eventually.
It's happening. This quarter is my quarter, Clint. I'm telling you. End of September, you're getting fucked up on camera.
I love it. Let's see. We'll see, Locke. I'll believe it when I see it. You all go out there. Have a great night. Good luck on all your bets, and make sure you tie your shoelaces. Don't get punched in the face. We'll see you in